Ladies and gentlemen, Debbie Lesko. Debbie Lesko. Let's go, Debbie. Let's go, Debbie from Arizona. This Arizona Congresswoman. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, what does Debbie Lesko, an Arizona Congresswoman, have to say?
I would do anything to protect my 5 grandchildren, including, as a last resort, shooting them if I had to protect the lives of my grandchildren. Democrat bills that we've heard this week want to take away my right to protect my grandchildren. They want to take away the rights of law-abiding citizens to protect their own children and grandchildren and wives and brothers and sisters. This bill takes away due process from law-abiding citizens.
What? All right, there's another short here. This is now this news. Maybe this.
I have 5 grandchildren. I would do anything to protect my 5 grandchildren, including, as a last resort, shooting them if I had to protect the lives of my grandchildren. Democrat bills.
So it seems like Debbie Lesko misspoke. It seems like she misspoke. She was saying she was going to kill the intruders, the perpetrators, those who would cause harm against her grandchildren. She would shoot those people, not shoot her. She said she would shoot her own that isn't what she meant, right? People misspeak. Now, it seems like she misspoke. So my verdict is she misspoke. But you know what? When you look at some of the recent news and some of the headlines, it makes you wonder. It makes you wonder. You had, that stabbing, right? She stabbed her kids. And then the Colorado, the man that he killed his wife and his kids. And then you just had Minnesota woman just drowned her kids. Susan Smith, Margaret Garner. I'm not for sure what would drive a person to murder their own children, right? It seems counterintuitive. It's not just for the species, but for your own legacy. Your own kids give you an everlasting legacy if you do it right. If they're, they grow up strong and healthy, they get a career, decent spouse, they got kids of their own. So I don't know, maybe, is it just me? For the species, right? I mean, not only just for your own personal legacy, but for the species, thou shalt not murder children. It seems like an eternal natural law for the end of all time. I mean, pro-lifers seem to think that fetuses are children, but then shouldn't children also be children and they shouldn't be murdered also? Isn't that also? So I'm going to give old Debbie Lesko, I'm going to give her, the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to say she misspoke. But the fact that we do live in a we live in such a weird-ass time, we have to think, did she mean that? Did she mean that she was going to shoot and kill her own kids? The boomer generation have fucked up a lot of things. They had college for like $100. They could buy a house for like $100. They could, make $100 in a day. The boomer generation had it easy. And now Debbie Lesko of Arizona, does she, today complain about the internet or texting or using cell phones? Does she have like contradicting opinions regarding technology? I heard this one woman say to another woman, don't text me, just go ahead and call me because I'm old school. If you're old school, you wouldn't have cell phones. Old school is you had the rotary phone. That's old school. There isn't no texting. There isn't no, you would call once in a blue moon and you only goddamn called when you needed to. Not all this, look at every, thought that you have. Spare the rod, spoil the child. You got this Christian zealot nation, spare the rod, spoil the religious zealot. Abraham, you got Jesus and Abraham. So if it wasn't about, we didn't have this Christian theocracy in America, I would definitely be worried about what Debbie Lesko had said, because Abraham was okay with killing Isaac, and then God was okay with dropping Jesus off at earth so that the Roman patriots could kill him. Spare the rod, spoil the child. How about spare the rod, spoil the religious zealot? So why was Abraham okay with killing Isaac? Well, God told him to. What the fuck? So just shut the fuck up. Your job isn't to, question why. It's just to do and die. Just obey. Is obedience good? Because I feel like obedience is only good if you're obeying a good person. And really, if a person is good, what is a benevolent dictator? Yeah, right. He must, you might, if you're not building 15 hospitals, don't tell me what to do. If you're building 15 hospitals, all right, I'll grab a hammer. Okay, who's in charge? Okay. Now, Abraham, is it okay for Abraham to kill Isaac? Right? That's a story. God says, hey, Abraham, you really love me? Why don't you go up to the hill and, kill Isaac and offer me as a sacrifice, which is super fucked up. If I'm God and I'm telling you to go ahead and take your kid up the hill, tie him up onto a rock, and then stab him in the heart, and then burn him as some kind of sacrifice. You should not, do not believe me. Do not believe me. Do not listen to me. If I tested you, I would just ask you, have you read 1984 or Lord of the Flies, and what's your thoughts about it, and what's a synapse, and, where's your humerus, and so yeah, that's, maybe it wasn't God told Abraham to kill Isaac. Maybe it was the fucking devil. Maybe the devil's dressed up as God. Isn't that a possibility? The devil dressed up as God and told Abraham, go kill Isaac. Now, fuck you, you piece of shit, bitch. That's actually, Chris Hedges says that's one of the most immoral things about Christianity, that Abraham and Isaac story, and God and Jesus too. I mean, oh, what a huge sacrifice for Abraham to murder his own. I guess that is sad to, giving up something that you love, but why not tell Abraham to give up something that he'll enjoy, and how about he can't, I don't know, have his favorite soup. He can't enjoy his favorite soup anymore. How about that, God? Why don't you give him, tell Abraham to stop eating his favorite soup? So that's why obedience is not a virtue. It's rarely a virtue. Obedience is rarely a virtue. If the devil was disguised as God, you want a person to be independently minded, they could think for themselves, so that way when the devil's disguised as God and they're saying, go do A, B, and C, they know it's the fucking devil. And it's really somebody else telling you what to do. You think it's so goddamn important, why don't you do it? You think killing Isaac is so important, why don't you go do it? God, you want to drop Jesus off at earth? So Jesus, if God, you think it's important to save these people, why don't you drop yourself off here on earth? And the Roman patriots fucking punches Pilate, Barabbas, Judas. Jesus crying in the garden, no, Elijah, why have you forsaken me? Why is Jesus crying in the garden? No, Elijah. Why is he praying to Elijah? And why did Elijah forsake him? Elijah? How come Jesus didn't reach out to, the Lord Thor, God himself, the main cheese, the big kahuna? Why didn't he, ask the big kahuna, the Jehovah's Witness, Father, Son, the Holy Spirit, Nimrod himself? But instead, Jesus reaches out to Elijah. I don't know about this damn Bible thing. Seems like a lot of contradictions, a lot of insane, a lot of shit that's just not logical. It doesn't make any sense. Nevertheless, I think that Debbie Lesko of Arizona, I think she misspoke. She was going to shoot the intruders, not her own grandkids. But I do want to know what her thoughts on, Jesus was made. Was Jesus created in a laboratory? Was he a test tube baby? Was Jesus a test tube baby? Because you had, what was his mother's name? Mary, and it wasn't, Joseph, right? So it was God. She was immaculately conceived, no sex at all, and then she was pregnant, huh? Sounds like some bullshit to me. But just never forget, America, Jesus was begotten and not made. Jesus was begotten, not made. Okay, America?